Okay, lady. There we go. Ta-da! Perks to working in the restaurant industry. Would you care for a tasting?
Yes, please. Lauren made it to La Vida in April.
April.
Yeah, so she's been here about 2 months. It's been really cool having my sidekick back.
Yeah, I mean, being in Los Angeles for, I think it was about 6 months, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. I went off and kind of ventured off on my own and went to Los Angeles for 6 months and, had a lot of growth, a lot of hardship. But like I said, a lot of growth. I think in really hard times, if you can just keep your head up and keep moving forward, knowing like that doesn't have to be your life, you're not victim to your circumstances, and just keep moving forward knowing that you're worthy of better things. Looking back on it, I think you can see the growth, but sometimes when you're in it, it's really defeating. And I know when I was living in Los Angeles, I just kept thinking, like, what have I done? Why am I attracting this? And I was quite hard on myself, especially coming to La Vida to see Ashley. I mean, she's really taken a very simple approach to life and has really been able to showcase some things that really she stepped into a lot of confidence and has been able to showcase a lot of her qualities. And it was obviously so awesome to see all of the growth that she had made and the life that she was living. But it was also really hard for me to be a part of, knowing that my life in Los Angeles was so drastically different and it felt off for me. And the life she was living felt more in alignment with the life that I want to be living. So now I'm here. I moved from Los Angeles and now I'm in La Vida.
Yeah, it's let's see. So we just recently moved into an RV over at Lucy's RV Park, and it's been a really nice experience to step back into more of a tiny living environment.
Mm-hmm.
We actually went through we started going through our stuff yesterday, and it's just amazing how much you can accumulate.
Even being minimalist. I'm like,
well, having all the extra storage, I think, in the RV was really like, I don't know, we started to accumulate. And it really depends on where your mindset is at. Like, we've been thinking when we moved into the RV that we might actually buy an RV of our own. So we've been in the mindset of, we're going to have a home, we're going to have a space to ourselves, we can store anything that we want. And we're kind of shifting that into...
But even prior to that, it's not like we got a lot of things from the RV on. It was beforehand, you and I both had separate bedrooms. I mean, I was living with a roommate in Los Angeles, and she was actually living with my roommate's family in La Vida. And I think having our own space in the bedroom, like a real bedroom, made it different. And just realizing, I think, time and time again, we think that we're minimal and we've gotten down to the nitty-gritty, but I don't know, it's like the more and more that we find happiness in other things, the more and more we shed. Because I know every time that we've moved, or that I have moved, my car is less and less full, Mm-hmm. And even coming from Los Angeles, I was like, whoa, like, I have nothing. And then we literally stacked full of my trunk with things to pass forward and get rid of, and it's crazy how that happens so quickly.
It is. And I think one of my favorite things about minimalism that I learned from you was how much can we survive with what we already have. And whereas I would be like, I need this, and I'll go out and buy something that maybe I just need for a one-time use or something. Whereas Lauren's like, no, we can make this work. We can use what we have and look at us go, So that's always been really nice. And I think we're getting back to that point where we're I don't know. I think minimalism is an ongoing process, is the reality of it. You can accumulate
absolutely.
things.
At any time.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm not gonna lie, like being in the place in life that we are where it's like, we move around to kind of makeshift homes and things like that, and people donate things, and I feel like we do get a lot of donations, and sometimes those donations are well utilized, but when you move into your next chapter, you have to remember that, like, okay, I don't need this set of towels anymore, for example, or there's these things that I've been given that sometimes I just keep mindlessly, and I'm like, oh yeah, I actually don't need that right now.
Yep.
And it is cool that they have been donated. I mean, I would say a large majority of anything that we buy has been thrifted or donated. I mean, majority, other than things like undies.
Yeah. Because who wants to use undies?
Not this girl. Speaking,
yeah, it's been cool. It's one of those. I mean, I was just thinking about when we lived in LA together. We did super minimal with our furniture. We had a futon bed. We had a desk, and then we needed a couple items, but actually we got those donated to us. We just started asking around, like, oh, we need like a large pan, and
down to like brooms and all of those things that you just buy at IKEA or whatever. And
exactly,
I mean, a lot of people have multiples of things like just lying around. I guarantee you, and especially if it's just not even being utilized, you're not a nuisance to someone. You're actually helping them get things off of their plate that they don't even need.
And I was amazed when we cleared out our stuff yesterday, how much that just like, it felt so spacious, like I could breathe.
My
and
gosh.
it's really not the amount of stuff, but more about like, do I have what I actually need and want to fill my home with, as opposed to just stockpiling things up in all the extra storage space.
Well, and I think anytime that we go through our things, really getting everything out within a specific category. Like, okay, tank tops. How many tank tops do I have? How many tank tops do I need? And just really realizing how many multiples of things you accumulate, and realizing that it could or could not be in excess.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my vlog that I'm filming for today, how you helped me with that, like finding the multiples within my closet, and like I just picked my favorite out of those.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I thought just because I need this particular style of shirt, I need 4 or 5 of them, when really I only need maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Right.
So, yeah, it's nice. It's so refreshing to go through your stuff.
Every time.
I mean, I'm just like,
I mean, sometimes there are things that I get rid of that I'm like, oh, bummer. Like, I actually would like to have that. But that's kind of far and few compared to how many things I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that's, like, not in my space anymore. Exactly. I mean, it happens every now and then, but I've never died, never been traumatically sad over it. So I think when in doubt,
throw it out.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah, Lauren is making music now, so we've been playing a lot. Playing around with more like rhyming, like just trying to roll it off the tongue sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's like we're both doing that a lot lately. And it's nice. It's playful. I like how when you get into different hobbies and things like that, or if you get into hobbies, like for example, your yoga, then I get to play, the past few years, I've played around more with yoga than I ever would have. When I'm deciding to write music, you get to have a new relationship with music too. I think it's really cool. Like,
yeah, and I think in general our relationship has seemed a lot more playful since you've been back.
100%.
Yeah.
Not just since I've been back though. In fact, that's kind of what we were wanting to. The idea we were wanting to get across in this video was kind of what we've gone through since that we've gotten back together. And I think the first few weeks were the first few weeks weren't just nice because it was like, dude, I've missed you. Like, I mean, for me personally, I felt like a wounded bird that just needed some support, and you were really able to show up for me in that way. And I was like, wow, it's so nice to have someone that just no matter where I'm at in life, cares for me and wants to support me. And I mean, I'm sure that was quite hard on you, but it was a really refreshing time in life for me to be reassured of such a deep love. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I'm supported, and that feels really nice.
Yeah, it feels so good to be surrounded by people who just like love you for you, and especially in a very vulnerable time in life, a big transition. And I mean, it was yeah.
I was just about to say, like, some friends and family or people tend to be hard on people in their hard times. Like, yep, you thought that was a good idea? Well, of course that wasn't a good idea. And I just love how you're able to say, like, welcome back home. Just kind of, yeah, I really appreciate the way that you show up for me in that way. Like, I never feel like, well, to a certain extent, I was a little embarrassed of the life that I was living in Los Angeles to tell you, just because I think it was a crazy side of myself that I was exploring. And but then I went to Los Angeles because I extended my trip, didn't want to leave, decided to move here, went back to Los Angeles for about, I think it was almost 2 weeks, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't feel like
I feel like a week and a half was sounding right.
A week and a half, okay. So I went back, and I came back, and it was a little, I'll say this, I felt like it was hard on you for me to come into your life that you had been living, and at that point, I felt more like a burden.
I see. Yeah. Well, I think, too, I just moved into a new house and a new roommate scenario, and it was just readjusting to where are we going to live and those types of questions, and you finding a job. And I don't know, with so many moving pieces so unexpectedly, I think it was a challenge for us to really, I don't know. I think we moved through it pretty well. It was hard, but we moved through it really well.
Yeah, considering how, we were sharing a bedroom, we were, like, on some mattresses on the floor, which is nothing that we're above by any means, but it was...
Yeah, you feel a little less settled and at home when you're in these makeshift situations and you don't have it.
And when it's not your space. Yeah. I'm fine with being makeshift in my own space, but when I'm makeshift in someone else's space, it feels super makeshift.
Yeah, well, and I also think that there's a difference between, kind of having mattresses thrown on the floor versus like, oh, I got this, comforter and sheets that are silky smooth and I love them, and, having your most ideal space set up to live in.